Hey, Rishi. Thank you for taking the time to join this call today. What I was hoping to do for you was to show you the Entreda Unify platform and show you all the features that we have. And before I do that, I just want to give a brief background on Entreda here. So we focus on cybersecurity compliance, and our goal at Entreda is not only to make sure that financial firms are meeting the SEC FINRA requirements for cybersecurity, but we're also trying to make sure that we're helping them do this in the most efficient manner possible. And on my screen right now is an alert that the SEC released a few years back. Although it is dated back to 2014, these are still guidelines that auditors follow when it comes to cybersecurity. And it's basically a list of about 40 different things that they can check for during an audit. And just to show how stringent they are during these audits, just a few quick examples of some of the items they check for here. So they want to see that you're doing an inventory of software platforms and applications, that you're doing a physical device inventory. They want to see that you're logging security-related events on your devices. They want to see that you're doing a cybersecurity policy that you're constantly doing on an annual basis. They want to see that you're doing periodic risk assessments on your network, and the list just goes on. And it's very tedious for financial firms to keep up with all this. And this is where Entreda steps in. We try to make this whole process right here as easy as possible for you. And this is what our platform looks like. So you'll see that the layout is it's a dashboard that leads to a bunch of different features that we have here. And with Entreda, it's a hierarchy-based system. So basically, depending on what type of account you have with us, you'll get a different view. So I'm currently logged in as an administrator account. So I'm able to see all my users and all their devices in my dashboard, and I can see all their compliance statuses. If it's just a regular registered representative, then they would only be able to see data about their devices and nothing else. So when you first sign up with Entreda, the first thing we help you out with is your cybersecurity policy. And basically how the process works is the moment you sign up with us, we'll send you a link to fill out this form over here. And the form is pretty straightforward. It'll ask you about 10 questions, and it'll ask you things like if you have a physical office location, how many total devices do you have, do you have any wireless networks, and at the end of all of it, you just press generate policy, and we'll instantaneously create a 45-page cybersecurity policy that meets everything that the SEC and FINRA look for when it comes to a cybersecurity policy. If you already have a cybersecurity policy, then Entreda is always more than happy to review that policy for you. We've had the luxury of working with hundreds of different policies, and our own policies that people create through us have been through over 1,000 audits at this point. So we can always provide you with that benefit of crowd intelligence if you would like. Now, once the cybersecurity policy portion of the process is done, the next step is to invite people at your firm to create their accounts and to get the app installed onto your devices. And this is also a very easy process. So all you have to do is go to this enroll button over here, and it'll take you to a page where you can see all of your users and devices in one page. If you want to invite somebody to create their account, you can press add user over here, type in their first name, last name, and email address, and send them the invitation to set up their account.
Okay, so I see that you have the option to add about 3 users at a time. So I have about 20 users at my RAA here. Would you be able to invite all of those at once, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if you provide us with a list of your users, we can upload that for you on the back end all at once.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Now, once the account is set up, to install Entreda, all you have to do is go to this Add Devices button over here, and it'll take you to a page with a blue button that says Download Unify Applet. So you simply click on this button over here. You follow the 3-step process, and then within 2 to 3 minutes, our app will be installed onto your device. And the application itself is very small. It's only about 25 megabytes, and it just runs in the background of your computer, so it doesn't affect any computer performance or day-to-day operations. We also do monitor.
Now, I have a question. So we actually have some users at our firm that are still using Windows 7 devices. Is that something that you still support?
Yes, so you will be able to install Entreda onto a Windows 7 device. However, as I'm sure you know, Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft. So if you do install it onto a Windows 7, the app will work properly. However, we will flag your device for using a operating system that's no longer being supported.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then we also do monitor mobile devices. So if your firm uses iOS or Android devices for business purposes, to install Entreda onto those devices, all you have to do is just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and search for Entreda and install the application that pops up there. So once the installation, So once the installation is complete, the device will pop up actually in the home page, just at the bottom over here, and it'll appear in your compliance table. And the compliance table is where you can see all your devices and all the compliance checks that they're currently meeting. As you can see, we go by a pass-fail system to keep it as easy as possible for people to read and understand. And if a user ever wants to see why they have a pass or fail, they can just hover over the question mark, and Entreda will give them the reason as to why they're passing or failing. So I'll run through this section one by one right now, so you can get a better feel for what Entreda is checking for here.
I have a quick question here. So I noticed that you have it based on user on the left-hand side. So I actually need to check with compliance, but I'm not sure if we're going to want users interacting with a new system, dealing with creating an account, things like that. So I'll double check, but in case that is the case, do you offer any model where my end users don't need to create an account but can still get enrolled in the system?
Yes, so if you do not want your users to create their own accounts, then we do have an MSI package that we can provide to you in which you can deploy it and it will silently install Entreda onto their devices so that they don't have any interruptions and they don't have to create their own accounts.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So in this compliance table, the first item here is Firewall. And what we're checking for here is we're checking to make sure that the client firewall is enabled on all your devices. So a couple of quick examples here. A pass would be like the Windows firewall is turned on here. And a fail would be that the Windows firewall is turned off here. And in situations where you're not meeting certain compliance checks, Entreda has a feature called auto remediation, where we have the ability to fix certain issues for you in real time. So a quick example of that would be like right here. So let's say that this is your device and that the firewall was turned off on your computer. So as soon as we detect that the firewall is disabled, Entreda will send a pop-up to the device. And the pop-up would simply say, Entreda is detecting that your firewall is turned off. Do you want Entreda to fix it for you? And at that point, you just press yes on our pop-up. And Entreda will instantaneously turn on the firewall for you. The fail will turn into a pass in real time, and we would record that event for audit trail purposes. So it's just a neat little feature we have that helps you save time in meeting some of these checks over here. The next item here is peer-to-peer software. And what we're checking for here is we're checking to make sure that users do not have any peer-to-peer software installed on their devices. Common examples of peer-to-peer software are like BitTorrent or uTorrent, which are very popular applications today for downloading music or movies illegally. And we see it as a very easy way to get a virus on the computer. So we have a whole blacklist that we go by. And if we ever detected a peer-to-peer software that's on our blacklist, we would give the device a fail, and we would tell you what the product is right here that you need to remove from the device. The next item here is antivirus. And what we're checking for here is we're checking to make sure that you have an antivirus product installed on your device and that it's also running at all times. So a few quick examples here. A pass would be like a Sophos antivirus, which is a sufficient product. A fail would be like for these two devices, they don't have an antivirus installed. And then we have these warnings over here. And at Entreda, we try to make sure that our customers are doing more than the bare minimum for cybersecurity. So based off of third-party reviews, as well as some in-house testing, we can recommend antivirus packages to our customers. And we give warnings when we believe that it's a very basic antivirus being used. A good example of that is like Windows Defender. which is the antivirus that comes built in with Windows computers. And because it's just a basic scanning of the computer, it doesn't really do too much, we give it a warning here. And then in situations where you don't have an antivirus installed, like these two devices over here, Entreda has the ability to install an antivirus for you as a part of our auto remediation service. The next item here is disk encryption. And what we're checking for here is we're checking to see if there's whole disk encryption enabled on your devices. For SEC FINRA guidelines, it's required to encrypt laptops and mobile devices, and then it's only recommended on desktops. So this is a good section to have if you have any remote users or laptops or people that travel frequently with their business devices. It's a good way to make sure that the hard drive is secure at all times. The next item here is Wi-Fi, and this is a very straightforward one. So we're simply just checking to make sure that you're always connected to a secure Wi-Fi. And just another example of our auto remediation here. So let's say that you take your laptop and you go to Starbucks and you connect to the unsecure Wi-Fi at Starbucks. So as soon as we detect that you've connected to that unsecure Wi-Fi, Entreda will send a pop-up to your device, and the pop-up would say, Entreda is detecting that your Wi-Fi is not secure. Do you want Entreda to fix it for you? At that point, you just press yes on our pop-up, and Entreda will instantaneously launch a VPN service for you. And the VPN would secure your Wi-Fi so that nobody else can monitor your network traffic, and you can browse web safely again.
Got it. Cool. Question on that. So some of our users at our firm, I know, already have a VPN service. So is there going to be a conflict? I mean, how do we handle these cases?
Yes. So in general, when you have multiple VPNs on a device, it does cause conflict. So if a user is already using another VPN product, then you can turn on and off the VPN from Entreda whenever you'd like.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm. So the next item here is password policy. And what we're checking for here is we're checking to make sure that there's a password policy being enforced on your devices. With our application, we don't collect any personal data, so we can't see your passwords or your emails or the websites you go to. And we obviously want to make sure that you have a strong password at all times for your computer. So we enforce these password policies. And through these policies, we can make sure that you're changing your password every few months, or that you have a complex password that's at least 8 characters and that you're not recycling passwords. So just multiple things that go into this check here to make sure that the password you use to log into your computer is secure at all times.
Okay, perfect. Now, I have a question on that. So our password policies at my firm are managed by Active Directory. So how do you handle cases like that?
Yes, so if a firm is using an Active Directory to manage the password policy, then Entreda will check to make sure that the Active Directory has the right GPO set. We do have an auto remediation for the password policy, but in this case, because you guys are using an Active Directory server, the Entreda password policy remediation will not be enforced at all because we don't want to cause any conflicts. So yeah, basically we will check to make sure that the AD server has the right GPO set.
Got it. Okay.
The next item here is AntiSpyware. And what we're checking for here is very similar to Antivirus. So we're checking to make sure that you have an anti-spyware product installed on your device and that it's also running at all times. And most antiviruses do come with anti-spyware. So this is a good section to have to help make sure that the anti-spyware component of your antivirus is actually turned on and running properly. And then the last item here is OS auto update. And what we're checking for here is we're checking to make sure that your device is set to automatically update whenever there's a critical patch pending. So through this, we can help make sure that all security patches are going through for your devices.
Okay, so question on that. So my firm uses an RMM tool to manage patches. So how do you handle this scenario? Because we're actually not using the default operating system auto update feature.
Yes, so in those situations, what Entreda does is we have an exception process. where basically we can document in this category here that an RMM tool is being used. And we would help you turn this fail into a pass by just letting, by putting in the system that you have an RMM tool that actually manages the patches for you.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. And then what makes Entreda stand out is what we do with all of this data here. So we take all of these compliance checks here, and then we also take about 20 other factors on the device. And we have the ability to score the device on a scale of 200 to 800, similar to a credit score. And we call it a cyber risk number. And it's basically a snapshot showing you how secure each device is overall from a cybersecurity standpoint. And if you want to see why you have the score that you have, you can just hover over the question mark and it tells you why. So like for this device, for example, we can see that it's not meeting 4 of the compliance checks. And there are also critical patches pending. And because of this, we're giving this device a score of 650, which obviously isn't the best score out there. And then we also take it one step further by averaging out these cyber scores here to give you an overall cyber risk number that helps you see how secure your firm is overall from a cybersecurity standpoint. And then included in this score is also the cyber risk numbers for your iOS and Android devices. And this is the exact same concept, but the only difference is we check for 5 different things here. So we'll check to make sure that there's a passcode enabled. We'll check to make sure that the auto lock is set to 1 minute or less. We'll check to make sure the operating system is up to date. We'll check to make sure the device is encrypted. And then we'll also check to make sure that you're connected to a secure Wi-Fi at all times. And the mobile app does come with a mobile VPN feature. So if a user is ever connected to an unsecure Wi-Fi on their phone, for example, it could always just log into our mobile app. And then with the push of a button, turn on a VPN feature that would secure their Wi-Fi for them. Are there any other questions on these 2 tables here before I move on to the next part?
What does the filter export button do?
Yes, so the filter export functionality basically provides you with dynamic reporting on the spot. So an example would be like, let's say I want to focus on just devices with a encryption fail. So all I'd have to do here is click on filter, go to the disk encryption column, select fail, and press filter one more time. And within a split second, I can see every device that has a disk encryption fail in my account. And then you can export that list however you'd like as well. So yeah, it just provides you with dynamic reporting on the spot.
Okay, makes sense.
Cool. So the next section I'll show you here is our analytics section. And the analytics section goes into a bit more depth about some of the items that we're checking here. And I'll show you just 3 pages in this section. So our first one is our patches tab. And the patches tab is where you're able to see every pending patch on every device underneath your account. I mentioned earlier, we check to make sure critical patches are always going through. So this is the section you can actually come to check and see what those patches are. And then we also do pick up the optional patches, which are the updates that are ready for the computer, but not necessary for security purposes. So this is a good section to have to help make sure that there are no pending patches on any of your devices. This page here is our application inventory. And this is where you're able to see every application installed on every device underneath your account. We have this section here because it not only meets that one requirement of software platforms need to be inventory, but it's also a good way to reconcile your policy against your implementation. So an example of that would be like, let's say you create a cybersecurity policy, and in that policy, it states that nobody is allowed to have Dropbox, for example, on their devices. So if you want to prove this is actually the case, that nobody has Dropbox on their devices, you could simply search for Dropbox right here. And instantaneously, I can see every user that actually does have Dropbox and isn't following the policy that was set up for them. So this is a good section to have to help make sure that users don't have any applications that you don't want them to have. And then the last page in our analytics here is our drive leakage monitoring. So if your firm uses a thumb drive or a cloud drive, Entreda actually has the ability to monitor movement within these drives. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't collect any personal data, so we can't see what's inside of these files, but we do have the ability to see what drive is being used. You're able to see the name of the file, and then you're also able to see the exact time and date that the file was either stored, deleted, or modified within your cloud drive. And we have this section here because this is another thing auditors do like to see. They want to make sure that you know that there's no malicious activity happening within your cloud or thumb drives. Did you have any questions on the analytics section before I move on to the next part?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Yeah, no problem. So the next section I'll go over here is our reports. And the reports are probably the most important part about our product because they not only sum up everything inside your portal for you, but it also meets everything that auditors look for when it comes to cybersecurity reporting and cybersecurity audit trail. So we call them cybersecurity surveillance reports. And we send them out on a weekly basis to our customers. And we also store them historically for you from the week you signed up with us. So I'll quickly run through a sample report right now. And like I mentioned, it sums up everything inside your portal for you here. So you'll be able to see all the cyber risk numbers. You can see all the passes and fails for every device. You can see details about the operating system. You can see the number of pending patches on every device and compared to the previous week. You can see data about our auto remediation, so whether it's turned on or off, and the number of times people have declined our remediation. You can see details about the application inventory, so the number of applications installed on every device, and compare that to the previous week. You can do the same thing for system processes, and then also you can see the data for the cloud drive leakage monitoring. For the iOS and Android section, you'll be able to see the cyber risk numbers, the passes and fails, and then details about those operating systems. The Pending OS Patches tab will separate the critical patches from the optional patches, and if a brief description of the patch is available, we do provide that to you in this last column over here. The network topology scan is a scan that's automatically run once a week. And basically what happens here is we take one of the devices from your account at random, and we use it as a probe to find all the unidentified devices that are lying within your network. And we define an unidentified device as simply just one that doesn't have Entreda installed on it. So this will pick up all the routers and the switches and the printers and just devices that don't have Entreda installed on them. And it's meant to serve as a physical asset inventory for when you get audited. And then the last page here is our document key. And the document key sums up what Entreda does. So if you ever have any general questions about what the app is doing or how it works, then this is the section that will tell you exactly what it is. So for Windows and Mac OS, it'll tell you what we're checking for here. It'll tell you how our auto remediations work. And then for iOS and Android, it'll tell you what we're checking for here. So again, this is overall just a very in-depth report that meets everything that auditors look for.
Very cool. So I have a question on this. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to have the end users have an account, but in case we do, did they also receive a report like this, or is this just for the administrators?
Yeah, so if you decide to have the rest of your firm create their own accounts, then those users will get their own weekly reports. However, the main difference is that since they'll be set up as just sub-user accounts, they'll only be able to see data about their devices, whereas since you're an administrator, you'll be able to see all the users and all the devices in your report.
Okay, and that brings up another question. So I do have multiple IT people here in my firm. Is there a limit on administrators, or can I have as many administrators as I want? How does that work?
Yeah, so since you have multiple IT people, you'll be able to set them all up with secondary administrator accounts. There is no limit onto the amount of secondary administrators that you can have.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, and there's just a couple more sections I wanted to show you here. So another feature that we have is remote desktop. So the example here is like if you're at home on a personal computer and you need to access the work computer inside your office, you can do that through our platform here. And the requirements for this to work are you need to have our VPN service. And if it's a Windows device, it needs to be a business-grade operating system. So like a Windows 10 Professional, for example. If it meets those requirements, what will happen here is you can press connect right next to the device, and it'll open up a new tab in your browser, and it'll take you straight to the login screen of that device. And then all you have to do from here is once the page loads up, is you just need to enter in the password to that login screen, to that account. And then within a matter of seconds, you'll be remoted in, and you can work as if you're inside your office. And then the last section I'll show you here is our additional services. So with Entreda, we do try to serve as a holistic platform, and we do try to serve as a one-stop shop for cybersecurity. We've noticed that it's a very fragmented industry, and with financial firms, we saw that they were signing up for 5 or 6 different services with 5 or 6 different vendors. So at Entreda, we try to combine them all into one dashboard here for you. So we do offer a bunch of additional services that auditors do like to see, and I'll go over just a few of them with you right now. So our first one here is our third-party vendor risk assessment. And this is where we have the ability to do a due diligence on your vendors for you. How it works is you press add vendor details in the top right over here. And all you have to do is just enter in the contact information of that vendor. And once you confirm the details, Entreda will send out a form to that vendor that we built in-house based off of the NIST guidelines of cybersecurity. And you'll actually be able to track the status of that form in real time through the section over here. So if I go to results summary, I can see whether the vendor started the form or whether they received it and haven't started it, or even if they completed it. So once the vendor completes the form, Entreda will score that vendor using some in-house metrics. And we'll basically be able to tell you in a snapshot how secure that vendor is overall with your personal data. And then if you download the report over here, it'll actually show you how the vendor answered each question and how they scored on each category of questions that we asked. So again, this is just a nice snapshot to show you how secure each vendor is with your personal data. The next service here is our phishing simulations. And this is where we have the ability to mimic a phishing attack on your firm. How it works is we send out 3 phishing emails over the course of a month, and we'll make it look like it's coming from Amazon or LinkedIn or a company like that. And you'll basically be able to track the status of the email here in real time. So you can see how many people opened the email, how many people clicked on a link, how many people got phished. And if a user does get phished by one of our emails, they'll get taken to our website where they have to watch a video and take a quiz on phishing. So it's meant to serve as an education-based service where we're trying to make users aware of what a phishing email looks like. And the service that complements this is our security awareness training, where we send out 3 training modules over the course of 3 weeks. And each training module contains a video and quiz on a cybersecurity related topic. What makes the service stand out is we do a context-based training, meaning let's say that you sign up with Entreda and you get the app installed on all of your devices, and then we notice that there is a password policy fail for all of your devices. So based off of this data, Entreda would send out training modules to your firm about password policies, password basics, how to set up a good password. So modules like that to make users aware of what they're doing wrong and how they can correct it. So this is also meant to serve as an education-based service where we're trying to make users aware of how they can stay secure in today's environment. And then the last service on this page here is our vulnerability scanning. So this is where we have the ability to do a vulnerability assessment and penetration test on your network. How it works is you press configure scan in the top right over here, and it'll give you the option to do either an external scan or an internal scan. And I'll just click on external, for example, here. So I click on configure scan, and then all I have to do is just enter in the IP addresses that I want to be scanned. And then I confirm the date and time I want the scan to happen. Once the scan happens, it'll pop up in the results section over here. And this page will give you just a high-level overview. So it'll show you how many critical vulnerabilities we picked up on your network, how many high, medium, low. And if you download the report, it'll give you an in-depth analysis about each vulnerability that we detected. And it'll also provide you with remediation steps, so how you can fix that vulnerability that we picked up. So the main goal of this service here is to give you a scope of your network to help you see all the vulnerabilities that are lying both inside and outside of your network. Do you have any questions on these core services here?
No, that makes a lot of sense. So if I just wanted, so I know that our firm already does phishing simulations and security awareness training. The third-party vendor due diligence seems interesting. I know we need to do that. I also know I need to do the vulnerability assessments, which we're not doing today. So can I just pick and choose which services I want to purchase, or is it all or none?
Yeah, so if you want to just pick specific services that we offer, you can definitely do that. We have an a la carte menu here. So basically, you can sign up for just one service and not sign up for the rest of them. That's basically how that works.
Okay, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, yeah. And just to kind of sum up the demo here, because that was the last thing I wanted to show you. So our goal at Entreda here is not only to make sure that you're meeting those SEC FINRA requirements for cybersecurity, but we're also trying to provide you with this platform where you can see all your devices in real time. And we're trying to give you this platform where you can see all the items that need to be corrected in real time. And then we also offer that service that corrects the issue for you. So the main goal at Entreda here is just to make the whole process as easy as possible for you.
Awesome, very cool. Okay, now, so if I could get a quote, maybe if you can send something over with some sample documentation, sample reports for about 20 users, and the third-party due diligence, would you be able to send me some quote?
Yeah, we can definitely send you a quote. I'll have my team work on that and send it over to you after this call.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time, Sean. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I hope you have a great day.
You too. Take care.